That's just how I sit. It's just how I sit. I'm looking at myself and not the lens like an idiot.
Parenting advice from Reddit. This one is not so much like parenting related. This question is, teenager of Reddit, why do you think you can give advice on subject like parenting?
Alright, let's see what the kids got to say. What?
Right.
Okay, with as shit as sex education is, those teenagers very well could be parents themselves. Sure, got 'em. My high school doesn't even teach sex education. You mean your daycare/online classes? I don't think it's fetched for them to say they won't do certain things their parents have done. This is not funny, babe. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The less experience you have, the more you think you know. The older you get, often the less certain you feel about a lot of things.
You know what? I relate to this comment. I do. For the same reason as single people give like dating advices.
Right.
I'm guilty of that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty. Because before I had kids, I just thought I'll be the freaking best parent ever. Like, to me, it was like spank. The slightest opposition the kids give you, spank, punish, treat them like garbage. But then when you have your own kid, everything changes. I was working at this job and one of my coworkers was complaining about her child. And I said, well, just spank her. And she looked, like the way she looked at me, and I was like, what? But now that I have my own kids, I'm like, that wasn't the best advice. I guess teenager thinks that they know.
So the thing that I can comment on with that was, whenever I was a teenager and my mom or dad would try to say something to me or explain something to me, my response was, I know. Not because I know. That was like me saying I understand. So they're like, hey, do this. I'm like, oh, I know. Dude, my dad freaked on me. Like, we're in the car and he's like, why do you gotta say that you know everything? Like, you just act like you just know everything about everything. It's just like, understand that people know more than you. Well, it was a valuable lesson, I'll say that. And this one right here, because I'm the one currently being experimented on, so I have first-hand experience. And then they go, 19. And then the other person goes, high five, I am also 19.
But like the funniest one that I found was this: customers' opinions matter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because the teenager, they're like the customer,
Of
so
the
their
parenting.
opinion matters. That was very clever. I would say so myself, you know.
That was a
like,
clever one.
huh. Let's hear from the customer how they feel about
Yeah, how does the
being
customer, yeah.
you know, about being parented on. In his family, he's the last born, right? So it almost kind of like you didn't have the responsibility of the younger siblings, which I'm the second born, and I did have like, there's 7 of us, you know. By the time my mom made the 7th, you can imagine the age gap. So yeah, at some point I had the responsibilities of the younger one, and by that responsibility, it's like, yeah, you do something that you're not supposed to do, you get spanked. Like I said, like for me, it was all about like punishment,
reward.
Not necessarily,
Punishment.
not too much reward, but it was more so like punishment, like to assert my authority. I don't even know why. You know, maybe it's like, you know, you don't have that much authority, so you want to assert it as hard as you can. But after becoming a parent, I look back, I'm like, that wasn't necessarily the best thing.
For example, my parents told me one time that I wanted to go to a birthday party. And they were like, yeah, it's fine, you can go. But the day of, they were like, hey, did you RSVP? No, I didn't call the number. And they're like, well, then you're not going. And I'm like, what? Like, I never asked to go anywhere. This is the one time I'm asking. And the person is my friend. I'm just showing up to like my friend's house. And they're like, nope, you can't go because they're supposed to be buying food and drinks. And you didn't RSVP, so they're not expecting you. And I'm like,
it's so funny that you talk about that experience.
Yeah.
Because I saw this one. You can read
oh,
it.
because I have amazing parents who have done everything right. I actually think they could have been a bit harsher on me as a kid. Thinking back, I was a little asshole sometimes. Definitely could have used a good whooping. LOL.
I just thought that relates to him a little.
A little bit.
This man right here, mom and
I had
dad.
an easy childhood.
Mom and dad, everything, you know, not that it was handed on a silver platter. Let's not.
No, I worked for everything that I wanted.
Right, but
Yeah.
it wasn't challenging, none of that. So when he's telling that little story of a little bit of challenge that his parent gave him, that's like one of the rarest.
Yeah, that's like one of the few times. Like any other time I wanted to go somewhere, they were like, yeah, be home at this time.
Right. If they say come home at 10, he will come home at 10. Not no?
No, I got in trouble for that. Yeah. And then I started coming home when they said, my mom, whenever I would ask, like, hey, I want to go over to my friend's house, she would say, your dad said no. Because my dad was a truck driver, so he would not be home. But then when my dad is home, he'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Like,
Right.
totally just the opposite of what my mom made it out to be.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give me a curfew. He would say, what time are you coming home? And I'd be like, 9:30? And he's like, see you at 9:30.
And
Dude, if it was 9:36, no TV, no video games, you're not allowed to go over to your friend's house anymore this week. You're done.
And he would just respect that.
And
What
I'd
a
be
nice
like,
kid. What a nice kid.
Nah.
But then as
Mom,
an adult,
Dad, if you're watching this, I used to play video games when y'all would leave the house, and I'd peek through the blinds for when you came home.
but that's not the worst a kid can do, right? We're good parents.
At least we think we are.
Most people do.
Yeah, but
So-
most people aren't.
Actually, we're gonna make a video on that. One of the advice is like you have to choose your battles, but when you choose one, you have to be willing to die on that hill. Never, ever, ever let them win, and that is so true. And one of the battles that I personally chose, it's like I'm not gonna force my kids to eat. I'm just not. If
Yeah.
they don't want to eat, I'm not gonna force them. Some of my sisters that don't have kids have a problem with that.
Like they have an issue with it enough to want to voice something.
Right. So like even when I send my kids to my mom, it's like they force my kids to eat, and I'm just like, you don't understand. To me, when you were young, you didn't like liver. They forced you to eat liver. How is that serving you now?
Yeah, what's the benefit now?
But like I'm not gonna have like
Like a screaming match
Yeah.
for you to eat the last piece of
No.
broccoli.
No, because at the end of the day, my first daughter, she eats pretty much everything.
Yeah, she does.
So
She's really good about it.
Yeah, there's no forcing the kids to eat what they don't want.
Die on the hill, parents.
Yeah.
It's okay. Childless Redditors of Reddit, why do you feel the need to give parenting advice? Exactly what you said. This person took it a little personal and it's a little salty. They said, because giving advice to parents about how to promote their child's development is quite literally my job, and I got a master's degree to do it.
Yeah, no, you can't go to school for parenting. I'm sorry. There is no school. It's like literally, if you're a first parent, if you're a first time parent and you're watching this video, there is no school. So many people are going to give you advices. That's
Yeah.
a given. Your mom, your dad, your older sister who has kids, your friend, everybody is going to give you advices. And honestly speaking, pick the one you feel though is going to apply. Because when they give you your baby at the hospital, it's literally your decision to make. The hospital would harass you, wake up the baby, feed the baby, do all of this. You know what we did? We would play the game while we're still at the hospital. The minute we get home, one of the advice we got with our first one was put the baby on a schedule, and we respected that. Like, if a baby is going to sleep all night, you're going to sleep all night.
Yeah.
And we're going to respect that. I'm not waking you up every 3 hours like the nurse said. I'm not doing that, because if that baby is waking up every 3 hours, you're not gonna be here to help me. So yeah, no. Feed the baby, let the baby sleep as long as the baby is sleeping. Don't wake the baby up, because eventually that baby's gonna fall into a schedule of sleeping. And I'm not saying like the baby's gonna sleep every night, but like if the baby sleeps 6 nights out of 7, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, our second child was sleeping all the way through the night within the first 2 weeks of having her.
Yeah.
And then you got parents who's like, man, I ain't got a good night's sleep in months. I'm like, well, it's your fault. I do understand that. I do understand there's certain circumstances that would cause your kid to not sleep at night outside of having a schedule. So that's just a blanket statement to be funny. The other thing is, Someone responded, "You're right, I'm not a parent. I'm also not a pilot. But if I see a helicopter in a tree, even I can be like, that's not right."
Okay.
Because we used to be children, duh. I can't help you suck at parenting. That's what someone said. And it's like, I've taken child development classes, which seems to be far more than most parents have done. But have you had a kid?
A kid! Like...
That's like, so check this out. That right there is the perfect example of like the professors in college that teach business who've never
had a business.
Never had a business. Right. That's okay, whatever. I only do it if parents are doing something seriously stupid, which is kind of makes sense. Like if you're feeding your kid like razor blades, then it'd be like, hey.
Yeah.
Also, you know what? I think the issue that parents have with people without kids giving advice comes down to the delivery.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because if somebody gave me and they were like, hey, is she sleeping at night? And I'd be like, no, she's not. And then they're like, do you see any signs as to why that is? Blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of going down like the self-discovery, right? But if somebody is like trying to speak, it's not that what they're saying is bad. It's the connotation that you don't have kids, so how could you know? And then it's just the delivery and the approach that the person without kids takes in delivering the advice that makes it annoying as hell to listen to. Because you don't know.
Yeah.
Are you up at 3 a.m. and haven't slept all night and got to be at work at 7?
But the funny thing is when you try to tell them like you don't have kids so you don't know, they take offense and it's just like...
It's like, dude, I'm taking offense of you trying to tell me when I have kids.
They take offense and then it's just like, well, I've been around kids all my life. Honey, it's different. I am telling you, with your own kids, emotions involved.
My sister loves kids, hung around kids, did everything with kids. She had her first son. She's like, I feel like I've never been around a child before in my life.
Because it's different.
Yeah. That said, in my case, I did the bulk of raising my little brother, who is 15 years younger than I am. My wife did the same with her little brother, also 15 years younger than her. We're done.
When it's your own kid versus your sibling, the emotions are different.
That's the other thing, because check it. So we're looking at it from the one perspective of the person without kids, because they're like, oh, I've been around kids, right? The kid is not looking at you as a parent.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't matter if you're good with this particular kid. They're like, who the hell are you?
And the kids do this thing where they only behave a certain way in front of their parents. Behave differently in front of other people. Kids do this thing, especially with mom. They only behave a certain way in front of mom, but when dad is home, they kind of like behave better. And then in front of other people, they give their best selves.
The last two that we'll read is, because we were children once and we can tell you about how some parenting decisions have long-lasting negative effects on kids. That one is a little bit understandable.
Yeah.
Common sense that some parents seem to lack worryingly. You're talking out of your behind. Because guess what? You don't know what you're talking about anyway.
All right, this is the end of like parenting advice from Reddit.
Yep. So, we would like to direct you to some of our other videos on parenting and topics that we've talked about, like pregnancy cravings, because my wife is at this moment now, what, 12, 13 weeks?
Yes, about
pregnant?
13 weeks.
Yep, like, because you used to be, like, every night you would be like, I want a tea. Go watch the video, actually.
I hope you guys took something from this video.
Yeah.
Some of them were funny, some of them were interesting, some of them were, good, in our opinion, a humble opinion.
Yeah.
And we did put our own spin into it and how things have worked out for us. But yeah, I hope that's going to help you, or if you laughed.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
You can leave your comments down below, or if you feel like insulting us, like we don't know what we're talking about, that's also welcome.
Yeah, but you can't say that we can't give good advice because we have kids. So.
Right. Also, please subscribe to see more of this.
Yeah, subscribes with an S on the end, yes.
Please subscribe to see more of these, like, funny, was it funny?
No.
Cheesy videos of us talking about parenthood, motherhood, and pregnancy, and all the good stuff around kids and parents and couple. All right, bye, team.